thank y'all for coming here to have a little data chat. I know that we look at data all the time, but it was kind of nice to sit down and really take time to look at data to kind of make some plans to further literacy in our buildings. So I created just a quick little PowerPoint presentation that we'll just kind of walk through. We're just going to look at some data today. First grade what's Beacon is what I chose to look at. Of course, there's so much data we could look at, but the Beacon is one that I chose, and I chose Beacon because we have fall, winter, and spring data now. So you can really see kind of like the exact same kids' growth, or not, over this entire year. So I have my agenda. We're going to review the district and our school focus. We'll just quickly review what the DRC Beacon assessment is and what it assesses. We'll look at the first grade data, and then we'll just kind of discuss the data and kind of come up with a plan for what next steps should we take once we've looked at the data and kind of see where it leads us. And then that's it. You'll be ready to go. So, we always start with the superintendent's priorities. Of course, we've known these for a long time. But to ensure that Cobb is the best place to teach, lead, and learn, simplify our foundation for teaching and learning in order to prepare for innovation. And this is what we're doing today, is using data to make decisions. I think our school does a good job of that. Our vision is to growing young minds to create, collaborate, and innovate. And our mission is to engage, enrich, and empower. All right, so the Beacon, that is something that students take all throughout Cobb County. It's a diagnostic assessment. It gives us not a lot of information because it's enough information to see what other assessments we need to give to see where a deficit is or a weakness is. It actually is given through 12th grade. I didn't know that, but when I was reading about it, it goes up through 12th grade. It provides us with more information to monitor and to determine needs, basically. K through 2 is ELA and math. We did not take the ELA in kindergarten, but they did take math. But we're going to look at first grade today. Since we all serve first grade, that's the grade level I chose to look at. So what I have for you is I've put the data for fall, winter, and spring under the different domains that the Beacon assesses. It looks at foundations. The standards, I guess, are grouped under the foundation umbrella. Language developed, text, and then interpreting text. Those are the areas that we want to look at. And then it breaks it down for Cobb, where Cobb's needs improvement versus meet standards versus proficient. Our schools, and then what I did was I really looked at individual teachers. So that's what you have in front of you are the individual teachers data for all three times they took it, fall, winter, and spring. So I want to just lead a discussion, just first to kind of look at the data and just kind of see, are there any trends, and what do we notice? So the first one you have is foundations. I did pull the foundation standards. I know we're familiar with them, but I do have kind of like the foundational standards listed. Of course, syllables, blending sounds, phonics, word analysis, decoding, all those things are there. But let's just look at the data on the first page. And this is for foundations. Look at the fall. You can see the fall, there's definitely a lot of students needed support. And these are the students that were coming from kindergarten, and they did not do U-Fly across the board last year, did they? They did do U-Fly across the board.
It was their first year.
The first year, okay. And that's 22% of their class, 50% of the class is near target, and then the last is the 28% of the class is prepared. So what do you know? Do you notice anything? The fall doesn't look bad at all to me. I would have liked to have seen it the year before, when this, like a Beacon or something where the students did not have the
without the
U-Fly
U-Fly
versus now. I
They
would
were better
better
prepared.
prepared. I would think they would be.
I mean, you can
So-
see in all of the grade levels, like the need support category has significantly dropped.
Yes,
22 to 0, 28 to 11, 15 to 5.
35 to 5%.
That's
And Scott was only 25% of her students needed support, and then she was at 0 by winter,
amazing.
0 by spring. Yeah,
I think we may have seen the support needed percentage higher had we not done U-Fly last year.
I agree. And I think they would have been higher in the fall for sure, and probably it would take them longer to catch up. It looks like they came into first grade at least with the foundation.
Right.
Even like you look at Rivera's kids, the support needed 32%. I think it would have taken her longer to get that 0% support needed had they not had the foundation of kindergarten.
Well, and I'm wondering, like, we're supporting the kids that are the needs supported.
We are supporting the needs supporting,
So,
needs support kids.
right.
So yes,
That's
so,
interesting too.
so then absolutely. So what we have, what, 4 of us that serve the
11% that need support.
what?
11% that need support now in all of first grade for the foundations.
21.
Did I miss one?
Yeah,
Okay.
Krim High.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm. So what, 21% needs support
In the whole
at this
grade.
time
Yes.
in the whole grade?
In the whole grade.
21% of the grade level, correct? What do you think about the near target? I think even near target, like, I think I was talking to one of y'all about the Ford spreadsheet, like, even if they're the near target, I tend to, I guess, like, not check them off, but kind of dismiss them, like, okay, they're near the target, but I feel like sometimes I forget about that near target range. And I think at a school like ours, we should have more of those near targets go into the prepared.
Yeah.
So look at those, like, look at Krim Heights, for instance. There was no they actually had the same number of children, not necessarily the same students, but the same number winter and spring that were near target.
Yeah.
Who had the biggest shift up from near to prepared? Looks like Connaughton had a lot.
Lynn,
And Lynn.
Lynn went from 50% to 35%.
Mhm. So at the beginning of the year, 65% of her class needed support or they were near target, which I still think I need to look at the near target kids. Now only what, 20%?
Remind me, did that near target range, does it change from semester to semester?
On the Beacon,
On the
I
Beacon?
believe that one shifts. But yeah, because our other spreadsheet, the Ford one, doesn't, it's something different. Yep. So foundations looks pretty good, I think. What do you notice? Like, I think one thing that tells us is that it is important to have like something that all teachers are using that is explicit, consistent, sequential, like we know everything goes with the science of reading.
Science of reading.
For put in place in kindergarten to help our first graders. All right, so take a look at language. So the next page, these are the standards that fall under language. Okay, and you've taught first grade, Tara. What are the what language standards? Is this pretty much it? These are the ones I pulled.
Yeah.
The adjectives and articles and prepositions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Punctuation.
Yes, it's your grammar.
Capital letters. Fifth graders are still working on that. Capital letters. Okay, so what do you see in this with this data from the language standards? Any trends? Anything that jumps out? At this time, we have what? 31% and still need support in this
Support?
under language.
Right now, at this time of year, yeah, it looks like 31%.
At this time of year, 31%.
So we have a little bit more in language.
A little bit more language. Anything else jump out at you?
It's interesting, like, I'm looking at the classes, I'm comparing the classes of like kids that are prepared, like the percentage. And it seems like, okay, you have like, Connaughton's group was like, what was it, 89% prepared for foundations and 72% now.
Right.
So like she's kind of got higher percentages.
Do you think that's because of the class makeup?
I think a lot of them,
That's-
Connaughton and, you can see is Scott
And Lynn.
and Connaughton and Lynn's makeup is completely different than Rivera, Shelby, and Krim.
And that shows
And
in the data.
what program are we using that's really hitting a lot of these
There
standards?
isn't-
standards.
There isn't a language program curriculum. It's gotta be teacher.
I mean, it's EL,
It's a
but it's new this
but
year.
that's
and we're
right.
Sure.
We're not using that next
So
year.
we haven't been able to perfect.
No, so we'll have probably the same kind
So
of thing
3
happen
years
next year
in a
with something
row
else that's
of
new.
different
Yes.
something,
Yes.
so there's no way to see where.
You can definitely see that something that was research based and and supported by science of reading with UFly
Right.
made a big difference versus in the foundations versus in language where we really don't have a set program EL, but no one thinks that's a great program,
Right.
and it's going away next year.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. Okay, the next one is text. I didn't pull up the standards for this because there wasn't like a set group to them. But just look, again, comparing this, how many that need.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, look, like you see, we are so much stronger in foundations and language, and then texts.
20, 30,
Yeah, look at Shawee.
Shall we?
58%.
Mm-hmm.
58%
Mm-hmm.
still need support.
58, based on the
Grade
beacon. Mm-hmm. 58% under text. I wonder what that assessed. Like, what is that? And we know, it's one snapshot. It's a sample of questions that could be asked, about these standards on one given day. So it's not the end all be all, but you definitely can see where the focus is and where it's not. And again, I think this is reflective of the EL program. This is what they were told to use.
I know, that's,
Mhm.
ooh, I'd be interested if we had been able to have this last year.
When it wasn't the EL program, when it was what we'd always done.
And what
Mhm.
it might be next year.
Yeah, I'll hold on to this. We can look at next year. Next year might be another learning year too. We might see the same, but we might not.
But
It'd be nice to look at that. Mhm.
Maybe there's a
Same.
little bit of correlation between what we've been using, but
I definitely think that Wonders is more sequential and systematic than EL is.
it's good to know.
I mean, it's more, to me, I look at like a basal, and I know they don't want to say, but it is. It's like, this story, it's all like right there together, which is nice. And the last was interpreting text. That one was even better than text. Text was the worst data, as far as children still needing support, I think. So anything you see on this one, any other
Oh,
things
yeah,
you
this
noticed?
is much
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the text one that has the largest amount of students still needing support. So what areas do you think that we need to improve on? What areas based on? Yeah, what is text?
I know, that's why I said, I don't even know
I
if you
think-
what text.
I think interpreting text would be your comprehension.
Comprehension.
I
Yes.
think text is that just within the domains of poetry, informational, nonfiction,
Sure.
fictional.
That's because they didn't have they used the EL program, which just had the writing embedded instead of actually
Or,
teaching
yeah.
the writing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why the scores are so low.
Mhm.
Or is
Yeah,
the text like composing?
There was a different one that was written. There was another section for like the writing components of it. So there was another whole piece of that. So I don't know, I'd like to look more into that, what that text, and that's a next step for me.
Because I do know that
is to
they
dig
were
deeper in
expected
that.
to be able to identify different texts.
Okay,
Like that, text features and text.
Okay.
Structure.
That, the
Structure,
structure,
features.
features. So I think that might be under text, and I think
Okay.
maybe the interpreting might be your comprehension piece.
definitely.
Could totally
No,
have that
no,
backwards,
interpreting,
though.
definitely, but I think that
Yeah.
just plain old text, that would be one of my next steps, is to dig a little bit further in that.
Mhm.
To figure that out a little bit more, because that's the area for sure that needed some support. Okay, let's take, so we looked at those standards, feel pretty solid. All right, so what does the data tell us? Like, just from looking at all of this in totality, what did you think? Like, what are some things that the data tells us for sure?
Well, one that UFly is working.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We've got proof that it is
Mhm.
working. I think that we don't have a solid program that's helping us with the language and
And the text.
and the text
Mm-mm.
You gotta
features.
dig into that text, like you said.
There needs to be definitely some more resources. And it's like county provider resources, what they give you is what you use, especially now with all like the vetting and stuff. You use what they give you. You can't go out and just get your own stuff anymore. So if they don't have a great program like EL, you're just stuck with it.
And making sure that we have the kids that are in the need support.
Just making sure that we have those
We
kids.
are supporting them.
And that they're on some kind of tier or on
Right.
EIP or
Mhm.
RTI. Like, what are we doing for those kiddos?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to go back and make sure that each and every one of these kids are in some way being identified.
And Megan did not have the class breakdown like student wise for me at that time, but she said that she could run that one for us, so we can look at that a little bit more in depth.
Like the demographics.
Correct.
That
which
would be
student-
something also interesting to look at, what the demographics
Yep,
of these students are.
I think so too. So she said she'd pull that for me if I needed to, which I would love to get that and look at. All right, so what areas do you think we need to improve on as a school for the next step? Take a look at, so we definitely said that some programs that we have are definitely working.
Yeah.
I feel like our kindergarten teachers are providing a solid foundation. They're coming to first grade prepared. in those foundational literacy skills.
If
And
they're,
then-
oh, go ahead.
No, you're great.
I was gonna say, if they're not doing it already, I think we need to get a little bit better at looking at the beacon, looking at the standards and interpreting the standards and having, you know, whether we're sitting here doing it, whether the teachers are doing it, but really diving deeply and then seeing where do our current, materials meet those standards and where do we need to supplement along the way.
Mhm.
I mean, not that we wanna teach to the test, but we do still wanna make sure that we're,
Teaching standards.
the standards are aligning and so are our materials.
Yes, I agree. Especially, and we can do that even with the new adoption that's coming, you know, that'll be a good time
Yeah.
to do all that, the new adoption.
Yes.
And since we're having to take the beacon, since it does take so long, we might as well use the data to, you know, make some changes or look at it at least. Which I think is really important to do. Sometimes, like I know as a classroom teacher, you give this and it's like, but what do I do with it? What does that change? Why? And you know, third and fifth and fourth, we're taking 2 or 3 days to do it. I think it's important to use it. So for next steps, let me go back. I think that I want to look a little bit deeper into text and make sure that we're interpreting that correctly. And then come up with something to look at those children, make sure that the children that we have identified in the percentage that still need support, they're being served with RTI or coming to us for intervention. And then develop something for us to work on with these kiddos that falls under that text domain. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, then we'll get that rolling. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are good. And I'll get those together and I'll present it to us. I'll present it to you what we can do for it next time. Thanks, y'all.